Hello, welcome to another episode of the Prime Human podcast, where we explore the science on how we can live, work, and achieve beyond average. I'm your host, Dr. Miguel Damas, and today we will not be diving into any hardcore science topic, but actually, what I want to discuss with you is probably more useful and more important. I want to explain why I believe that we should not focus on longevity. It's actually not that fun, and what we should do instead. But first, just a quick disclaimer. This episode, as always, is intended only for educational purpose, and please do not see it as medical advice whatsoever. Don't change anything about your protocols, your treatments, without consulting your physician. And also, if you want to get access to my free Prime Stress Protocol ebook, it's a 30-page ebook where I go into very good detail on the strategies that I use with my founders and executives. It is fully referenced, and you can get it if you go to primehumanperformance.com/stress protocol. Again, primehumanperformance.com/stress protocol, and you can download it for free. And now into today's episode. There is a reason why I named my project as Prime Human Performance, and I didn't do it as Prime Human Longevity or Improve Longevity or have anything longevity in the name. It would be much easier for me. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward, pretty hyped term at the moment. But from the beginning, I realized that if you want to achieve any goal, either professional or personal, that challenge you, that pushes you, that takes you out of your comfort zone for a long period of time, it would be against longevity. When we want to just focus on longevity and expand longevity, then longevity itself needs to be at the core of everything we do. Every little detail, every little protocol, every little habit will be matched against longevity if it is going for longevity or against longevity. So it starts to become a very limited way of living, and I would argue not fun, not useful. We have a great example of what longevity or living for longevity looks like. You may have heard about Bryan Johnson. Bryan Johnson is a former tech founder. He was the founder of Braintree. He started the company in 2007. But then in 2013, he sold it to PayPal for reportedly $800 million. And I guess he got a good chunk of it. But when he sold it, he was pretty sick. You could look at the pictures you have available online, and it's really hard to see Bryan Johnson today in the person that he was before. He was overweight, clearly inflamed, probably pre-diabetic with a bunch of mental health issues. That's me saying from what I probably imagine was a clinical status. And he decided to use a fair amount of his fortune to live longer. So he assembled a team of doctors, nutritionists, scientists, physicians, physiologists, personal trainers. He got a really big team. He's reportedly investing roughly $2 million per year on his journey to beat aging. And apparently, according to the data he shares, apparently he's been able to beat aging markers, whether it's telomere length or cell health quality. It seems that he's being effective. However, if you watch his Netflix documentary, Don't Die, it was released last year, you can have a pretty good view into what are the protocols that he follows. I mean, it has 2 meals per day of carefully chosen and packaged foods. It takes more than 90 pills per day. It has a very strict sleep routine, very strict workout routine, and he basically outsourced the decisions that he does with his life to algorithms, because he found that if we based our decisions into algorithms and remove all our human input and even human emotion and decisions process into it, then we make the best decisions according to hard science, and therefore will have the big impact. And again, it seems that he has been able to achieve his goal of increasing longevity. Problem is that you need to walk this very fine line, and everything that you do must be matched against. Is it increasing my longevity or harming my longevity? It's the only criteria through which you put something in your habits or not. It is only sustainable if longevity, hardcore longevity, pure longevity is your goal, which may not be the case for most people. And that's actually the biggest limitation of pursuing longevity. Your life is not about you anymore. It's about living longer. All the things that you want to do will be matched against how much impact it causes into your longevity. That ultimately is how you make decisions on what you do. Is it going for longevity or against longevity? Which is not what most people want. I mean, why do we want to have higher levels of health, be stronger, live longer? Is to both enjoy life, achieve something, pursue goals and dreams, have fun, right? It's not living longer for the sake of living longer, for the sake of having the healthiest cells and the best sleep metrics in the world. Living only for longevity, it's not fun, it's not sustainable. And in fact, we start to see people jumping ship and stop worrying about longevity. A couple of days ago, a patient of mine shared a conversation he had with a good friend of him who owns one of the biggest private equity funds in UAE. And actually, he was the first person who shared with my patient a few years ago that he was working with a longevity coach, that he was feeling better, that was tracking several biomarkers. And at the time, my patient thought, well, this is clearly something that only a person that doesn't know what to do with the money would get involved into. Not only that, a few years later, he would be working on the same perspective. But that same person that was so focused on working with the longevity coach a couple of days ago told him that he's not doing that much anymore because his life became so stressful. He was under such pressure to make sure he was doing the right thing that his social relationships got worse, stress markers went up, actual health markers went down. So he just reduced significantly the focus that was putting on longevity per se and just do the very basic. And now is enjoying more life. This clearly shows that vast majority of people focusing purely on longevity becomes so stressful, so overwhelming that actually will lead to a worsening of longevity markers, which is definitely what we don't want. And this really represents why focusing on longevity may not be the best for most people. I mean, if you are someone like Bryan Johnson and you really want to extend your longevity just for the sake of longevity and you're really passionate about it, please be my guest. Go for it. That's the goal on itself and it's incredible. But I guess that is not the case for most people, may not be the case for you. And it's definitely not the case for the vast majority of founders and executives that work with me to maximize their health. They always want to be healthier and stronger, to live better, achieve more things, to have more fun, to enjoy life. It's almost always as a way to achieve their goals. I mean, let me give you some examples. Sometimes it's improving their anxiety and their stress levels so they can be better leaders, keep pursuing their goals, developing their companies and achieve a high level of success. Sometimes they have achieved the success, they exited the companies and they just want to rebuild their health back so they can tackle the next project. It may be able to pursue hardcore physical efforts like Ironmans and IROCs and CrossFit and even extreme big wave surfing while they keep high level executive performance. It is avoiding burnout or recovering from burnout just so they can be better parents, friends, and keep on going and achieving their goals, or just basically improve their health so they can enjoy their life. When they get home to their family, they still have energy to play with the kids and be with their partners. I mean, these are usually the reasons that founders and executives look or have to work with me to improve their health. They are all extremely exciting, challenging, demanding, and massively fun, but they are also more likely than not something that will create hurdles and that will go against longevity itself. So let me be clear. Any goal that is challenging or demanding I'm pretty sure that will go against longevity. Anything that pushes our systems, that require us to push beyond what you think we can do, overwhelm us, that pushes our system too much and for too long will be detrimental. So let me give you some examples. Does it require you to multitask, make decisions all day long, work long hours in front of your computer? That's probably against longevity. Does it require you to fly frequently? Definitely goes against longevity. Does it create high levels of stress for way too long, creating feelings of being overwhelmed, anxious, and sometimes feeling lost and lonely? Definitely, it's against longevity. On the other hand, does it require you to train very long hours for a long period of time? Probably not the best for longevity. Does it prevent you from being home with your family or being with your friends or just being on your own, enjoying downtime? Yes, it's probably also going against longevity. And again, if you have any goals that require you to push your system, to push your limits, to do it for a long period of time, more likely than not, it is going against longevity. It is incredibly fun, and that's probably the juice of life, but still, it will be going against longevity. Let me give you two examples from my own life that exemplify this quite well. So last week, I flew to Dubai to deliver the last in-person module of a program that I've been doing for a company there. And when I'm away working, I want to pack my trips as much as I can so I am away from home the least possible time. So what happened was I flew on Monday and the flight was okay, nothing to actually about. But between landing in Dubai and taking Uber, I just arrived at the hotel at 3 a.m., which was 11 p.m. Portuguese time. So I was able to arrange my schedule. I didn't have any big commitments. Tuesday morning, early morning. So was able to sleep a little bit later and get a little bit of a longer sleep, but still I woke up at 9 a.m. So I did my routines and I pushed, I did some work, but then I was picked up at 1:30 and we drove to Abu Dhabi where we would be doing the first workshop of the trip. The workshop went very well, 2 hours, very high focus, good energy, great results that the team is already achieving. Then we commute back and I was at hotel around 7 p.m. I had dinner at hotel. I always try to pick hotels that I can cook in so that I can control a little bit. The diet was not still perfect, but it was not as bad as it would be if I would not be able to cook. And I went to bed as early as I could, even though it was against my time in Portugal, because I would be picked up at 8:30 in the morning next day to drive to Alain to deliver another workshop, which was at 10:30 in the morning, which would be 6:30 a.m. Portuguese time. And I had to have my brain as sharp as possible. So I did everything that I could to be sharp, and it went very well. Drove back, and then the rest of the day between work and making calls with clients and writing some things down, I had a very early dinner at hotel so that I could sleep a little bit at hotel before I would be going to the airport and flying through the night via Istanbul to Porto. 9 hours later, I landed in Portugal. Did I enjoy going there and delivering the program? Yes, absolutely. I love doing these things. I love to help people change their life and getting a healthier, stronger version of themselves. That was the whole thing about the program. And thankfully, we have been able to deliver it. But it meant that in 72 hours, I spent 10 hours in airports and airplanes. I had to adapt to a 4-hour time difference quite fast and still maintaining sharpness in my brain. I had to eat adapted diet that I could, given what I had available. I had to stay away from home and family and the baby, which is something that I don't like to do, but still, this trip was absolutely aligned with what I want to do, the impact that I want to have, to build my company, to get better results. I really, really, really enjoyed it. But I'm definitely less healthy now than I was before I jumped on the first plane. I mean, nothing that happened on that trip was pro longevity, and still something that I wanted to do. And the same logic applies to my Ironman 70.3s and my Comrades Ultra Marathon. Nothing about training for a long distance effort, either a triathlon or running or cycling, nothing about it is aligned with the science on longevity. However, in my case, there were some of the most incredible days that I had in my life. But again, if you want to max out on your longevity, perfect. No problems. But that's not my thing. I want to be healthier and stronger just to do these things, just to achieve my goals, to pursue them, to get closer to my dreams, to develop myself, to be a stronger and healthier version of myself so that I can do these things. And my guess is that it's the same with you as well. And we are not alone. I mean, it's not only people jumping ship. It's actually people that don't even want to have anything with you on longevity. A couple of months ago, I had a meeting with one of the biggest real estate companies in Dubai to discuss how we could improve their staff, especially their salespeople health. And I was in a meeting. We were 4 people there. 3 of us were Whoop users. So I would say that we all had a really good understanding on the power of optimizing health. But when we start discussing, they were quite clear. Look, doctor, our people don't want to have anything to do with longevity. They just don't want to waste time on it. But if you're telling me that what you focus on is increasing performance and that can lead to better results, better cell number, getting more deals done, then hell yeah, let's do it. When you are so laser focused on your goals and your success, you don't want to waste time on becoming a healthier version just for the sake of it, but you will want every single help you can get to get you closer to your dream, to get you closer to your goals. And that's why I think you should focus on performance optimization. That's why we developed Prime Human Performance. Prime Human Performance means putting your goals, what you want to achieve, your dreams, how much, doesn't matter really how challenging they are, how demanding they are, but we put it at the center and everything else needs to be developed, put in place to improve the chances of you achieving what you want. It's almost like, if you want, applied longevity. We apply the same science to your goals. We don't adapt you to longevity. It's a different game with different rules, but it's much more fun, much more sustainable, and actually much more aligned with the long-term success of becoming a healthier, stronger version of yourself. Let me give us a few examples. A pure longevity approach to, let's say, long-haul flying would be something like that. Flying implies high level of exposure to cosmic radiation. It is well known to create mitochondrial damage and DNA damage. It is absolutely against longevity, so you should not fly. There's nothing we can do to recover from it because it is actually completely against longevity. Performance optimization perspective into flying would be great. That's a great opportunity that you're pursuing with flying. It will be tough. It can create a lot of damage, but let's try to minimize the impact. So here's a few things that you can do. First, if you're flying a long haul, especially through the night, what I want you to do is to stop eating when you go to the airport. No food during the lounge, and definitely not food during the plane. If you want to sleep, you keep your hydration to a minimum of 500 milliliters per hour with ideally electrolytes, or you do it with natural sparkling water that will be high on sodium. You will use binaural sounds, a good high mask, and maybe mouse taping to maximize your sleep during the plane. And we try to choose seats on your airplane that allow you for the better possible sleep. Then, when you land, you must have a perfectly clean diet. We will work with nutrition tweaking to make sure that you adapt and beat jet lag as quick as possible. And we are talking about protein content, carbs content, and even how it will mess with the microbiome. Yes, it will be tough, but there's ways to minimize impact that flying will have. Another topic would be training for this dream. I mean, that's jumping on the bandwagon that I am of these long endurance triathlon Ironman efforts. The longevity approach would be absolutely not. It's not the best type of training. It's not aligned with longevity. It will create much more harm and much more inflammation that we can handle. We want to keep it to a minimum. So we just need to focus on pure strength training and VO2 max training. So anything else, it's not ideal. So please do not go for that. Whereas when performance optimization will say, well, that's challenging. You already have a very busy schedule and high load with your work, but there's ways that we can train to minimize the negative impact. So we'll shorten the training by doing three things. First, you need to stop being seated. We'll need to get stand-up desks, walking meetings, anything that will get you not seated and walking. Second, we'll reduce the time you need to be training by getting you a sauna, a Finnish sauna, and at least 20 minutes per day, every single day, because it will increase your VO2 max quicker and your cardiovascular ability quicker. And third, we'll just do hyper-focused training, strong training, fast training in your bike and running, and we'll save long endurance cardiovascular efforts to your swim. Now, if you have a little bit more time, and we may have to do it over the next months, we'll include long zone 2 training on a very low heart rate so that we increase efficiency of your system with 20% of training on zone 5 training to increase VO2 max. We should be able to create a good result with these, but we'll keep a close eye on resting heart rate variability, and hormonal panels to make sure that you are not overtraining and getting into burnout. It will be tough. It will be challenging to pair the high demands of your daily life, professional life with this effort. But if it is a dream of yours, we'll definitely get it done. Or even a more simple example regarding alcohol. Longevity will tell you, well, the only amount of alcohol that will not impact negatively your health is 0, so you should have 0 alcohol. Please do not drink whatsoever, full stop. A more prime performance optimization or enjoy life perspective would say, look, the only safe amount of alcohol is 0 alcohol, but we can minimize the negative impact. A few rules: drink the least amount possible, drink the best quality possible, drink as early as possible, because for the sake of sleeping, it's much less negative to drink in the morning than in the evening, and it's always 5:30 somewhere. Then fourth, eat. Fifth, hydrate yourself with good quality natural sparkling water because it has a high level of electrolytes. And six, if you have to drink, drink. Enjoy it. Do it if you enjoy it, and then we'll manage the negative sides. Don't do it quite often, but when you do it, do it. These are very quick examples on how pursuing longevity is different from pursuing performance. With longevity, it's much more limited. It's much more narrow. It's much less fun. When we optimize performance, we put the goals that you have at the center and we work around it to make sure that they are possible and we minimize the negative impact. Don't get me wrong, 80% of the strategies will be exactly the same between longevity and performance. I mean, there are non-negotiables. The diet quality, it should be as clean and as free of processed foods as possible. It should have a good amount of protein in it, good amount of good healthy fats. We should remove crap from the diet, from bad oils, bad carbs, empty calories. We should be very smart about carb intake, use it to our own advantage to improve sleep, recovery, and as a performance enhancing drug, we should be quite strategic about it. It's a non-negotiable. Second non-negotiable is sleep. I mean, as much as I would love to tell people that they don't need to sleep, they do. But as I said the other day to a new client, it's not only about the hours we sleep, that's a minimum, but it's about how efficient they are. How are we getting the most out of them? If you are only sleeping 7 hours, you don't need to sleep 8. You need to make sure that out of those 7, you get as close to 7 hours of real good quality sleep so that you recharge your system. This is also non-negotiable, such as exercise. And by exercise, I mean doing something, not being seated. Obviously, if you have a sport goal, it needs to be adapted. But if you have the goal of being as strong, as healthy, and make sure that your brain is as sharp as it can, nothing will beat the power that exercising, especially outside, but exercising, doing some sort of exercise can do for brain performance, mood stability, anxiety, and ultimately health. And the last non-negotiable is stress management, not in the common sense of stress, professional stress management and work-related stress management, but overall stress management, making sure that the pressure that your system has is exactly the pressure that your system can handle and not much. These will always be there, and these should be overlapping between longevity and performance. We cannot cut corners. However, the difference is that by focusing on your goals, by making sure that what you want to achieve, your dreams, your rules are at the center of the game, will make it more sustainable, more fun, more enjoyable, and ultimately better for yourself, your health, your performance, and your longevity. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you next time.